ESPN.com decides to come out with a story on the day that Magic and the crew are going to be here. Story comes out. Baxter Holmes, reporter, senior writer on the NBA for ESPN, by the way, does an outstanding job. And did an outstanding job with this story. There's nothing missing here. But he wrote this big expose. He's been working on it for 2 years. And there's a lot to deduce from it. Because we don't want to take away from his work. He did his job. Do I like the fact that I have to deal with it today? Hell no. Quite annoyed by it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But nevertheless, the story's out. Go check it out on ESPN.com. Obviously, it's very, very important. I mean, it's cover of ESPN.com. It's a big deal, right? Go ahead and look at it. ESPN.com. Let's make sure we mention that. It's right there. Let's make sure we mention that. ESPN.com. Go read the story. Here's an excerpt from it, from Baxter Holmes, talking about two of the biggest factors that have affected the Lakers culture since Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka took over in 2017. Listen to this.
First, Rob, as Magic Johnson spoke about on this show last week, entered into the position with credibility issues. And according to people I've spoken to the organization, that only became more amplified during his time there. In terms of Irvin, who has said on record before that he can have a kind of demonstrative personality, people in the organization saw that on the occasions when he was in the office, they would describe kind of a duality to his personality. There was Irvin, and then there was Magic. And I think these two things, culminating or played a key role in the dynamics of what the culture would become over the next 2 years within the Lakers.
That wasn't all that Baxter Holmes had to say when he appeared on First Take this morning.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed.
Is it fair to hold somebody to a 150% standard? Hell, that doesn't exist. You can't give more than 100. It's only fair if that's what they promised. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. Will Kane filling in for Stephen A. Smith today. You can normally get me 3 to 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And on ESPN News, I've proposed for you today that if the Houston Rockets are open for business, if, as ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski has said, that all the players in Houston are available in trade talks, who says no? The Lakers or the Rockets to a LeBron James for James Harden deal? Just tell me why that deal doesn't make sense. You can tweet me at Will Kane or give me a call at 888-729-3776. But in the meantime, is it fair to hold somebody to a standard of 150%? You see, Magic Johnson went on the ESPN NBA Finals special last night with Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Doc Rivers, and answered questions about the explosive Baxter Holmes piece on the Lakers' dysfunction posted yesterday on ESPN.com. Now, make no mistake about it. Magic was just one of many who come in for indictment on what's gone down with the Lakers. Jeannie Buss is seen as an absentee owner, one who cannot delegate with competency to anyone around her, who listens to too many voices, and ultimately must be the responsible party. Ultimately must have the buck stop on her desk, because what other desk is there for it to be passed to? Harry Truman, one of the great presidents of this great country, once had that sign sitting on his desk in the Oval Office. The buck stops here. It's because he understood leadership. And he understood, ultimately, where responsibility lies. The Oval Office of the Los Angeles Lakers is Jeannie Buss's office. The desk where the buck stops is her desk. She is ultimately responsible for any failures of leadership in Los Angeles. But that doesn't absolve anyone below her. Rob Pelinka apparently has a very tenuous relationship with the truth. He's able to turn a well-dead Heath Ledger into a dinner date for Kobe Bryant. And can we just all take a moment to think about that? Rob Pelinka stood up in front of his employees, the Los Angeles Lakers players, and spun a yarn. And that's a nice way to put it. Lied his ass off is a more accurate way to say it. About setting up a dinner date for Kobe Bryant with Heath Ledger after Kobe had seen The Dark Knight, after he'd been captivated by Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker, and after Heath Ledger had been dead and buried, and said, "Hey, Rob, can you put me in touch with Heath? I really want to see how he was taken by that role. Love to pick his brain." "Absolutely, Kobe." And they did, says Pelinka. They had dinner. Rob Pelinka is one hell of an agent. He's out here arranging seances that pay off with big-time meetings. I'm hiring Rob Pelinka because I have a few things I want to ask Winston Churchill. I have some leadership questions that I think only Churchill is capable of answering. Hook me up, Rob. Not only that, he says that Bob Myers is now coming down to the locker room just like he wants to do. Apparently that is not checking out with sources as well. So Rob Pelinka comes in for fire as well. But Magic Johnson's commitment, his style of management, his impulsive decision-making, and what is described as a tyrannical leadership also comes in for scrutiny. But Magic last night on his special with Stephen A. Smith really wanted to talk about the idea that he wasn't fully committed. And he brought up the concept of laziness.
Lazy? I have built a $600 million business. You cannot be lazy going from playing basketball and winning 5 championships. So I wasn't lazy as a player, and I'm not lazy as a CEO and a business owner. That's never going to happen.
I don't know who was mentioning the word lazy. That is Magic Johnson setting up a straw man, an argument that no one has made. Straw men are easy to defeat. They don't fight back, and, well, they're made of hay. You can strike down a straw man very easily. A, because they're weak, and B, because there's nobody there to defend it. Laziness is not the only option for considering someone's commitment. Distraction, multiple job responsibilities, even overstressed, overworked, can all be reasons to explain why someone is not fully committed to their job. Now, Magic Johnson tells us that when he took the job, he got an arrangement from Jeannie Buss that guaranteed he would not have to be 100% committed. He got a job that told him he would be able to commit a part-time schedule to a full-time job. That's what he said on First Take a week ago.
If it was probably any other situation, I probably wouldn't have, left my business aside.
Dang it. I can't read these sound pieces, Nuno. Which one is it? Okay.
If it was probably any other situation,
nope. Same one, Kat. This is like sound roulette. I'm just going to point and poke, Nuno.
When we sat down and negotiated,
bingo!
I told her, I said, listen, I can't give up all my businesses. I make more money doing that than becoming the president of the Lakers. So you know that I'm going to be in and out. Is that okay with you? She said yes. I said, do I have the power to make decisions? Because that was important for me to take the job as well. She said, you have the power to make the decisions.
Okay, so there we go. That was the right sound on the sound roulette. That's Magic Johnson saying that when he arranged his job with Jeannie Buss, he could commit a part-time schedule. That's him saying he was less than committed. But it's not the same thing that Magic told us when he took the job. And it's not the standard we should be holding for Magic Johnson, because he told us something different.
First sale.
When Magic took the job.
First sale.
On Lakers.com. This is after he negotiated his deal with Jeannie Buss.
First
this
sale.
is after he'd already taken the job. And he told us at that time something very different.
If it was probably any other situation, I probably wouldn't have, left my business aside, left my business to concentrate fully 150% on Laker business. But because of her leadership, and I know she wants to win so bad, that I decided, hey, I want to work side by side with her.
So there's Magic Johnson saying he's going to set aside all of his other businesses. There's Magic Johnson saying he's fully committed. It doesn't add up, Magic. Look, man, I like Magic. I never met him, but like the smile's enough. I'm in. I like Magic. Add to that some legendary status, one of the greatest players of all time, and I'm in. But what am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to take what Magic Johnson says in one instance and compare it to what Magic Johnson says in another instance and say, you know what the problem here? It was that he had the wrong people around him. No, man. He said he was all in. He said he was going to set aside his businesses. He said he was committed to the Lakers. And then, after it's failed, after it's over, he says he was guaranteed or he was given or he was negotiated with to have a part-time job. And then he says anybody that questions that is calling him lazy. And how he, who is worth $600 million, his legendary pleasure, how could you call me lazy? No one did, man. All we're doing is saying, you said X and you said Y. And they don't add up to Z. For what it's worth, I love the man that normally runs this program, Stephen A. Smith. I truly do. We fight a lot on TV. We really do. We fight a lot, but I like him. I would even go so far, maybe not mentor, but certainly somebody I call for advice. If I'm in hot water, I need to know how to negotiate something. Here's the bottom line. I respect Stephen A. I respect him. Nobody works harder, and nobody's better. I don't care how many Twitter principals there are out there, how many hot take on guards there are. This man does it the best. That doesn't mean he's infallible. Doesn't mean he's not wrong. In fact, I almost consider it my full-time job to correct him. So when Magic Johnson said something to Stephen A. Smith that doesn't mesh, I got to take that with particular attention. Because here's what Magic Johnson told Stephen A. when he took the job as advisor. And this is where I get the 150% from.
You know, Stephen A., I always wanted to be a businessman. I built this incredible business, and now I have to step back from that business to then, you know, really give 100% effort into my job and what I was doing. So I love working for Jeannie.
He said 2 years ago on First Take, he would give 150%. Stephen A. was direct with him. How do you have the time? And he said, I'll make the time. Blame for Rob Pelinka. Blame for Jeannie Buss. But no pass for Magic Johnson. The only thing Magic has going for him when it comes to this Lakers dysfunction is that he has a lot of company. And by the way, we can just take this all first full circle. Why does LeBron want to stick around for that? If you missed today's opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Capital One, N.A., member FDIC. So I'm going to ask you one question, and I'm going to give you a solution. Who's under more pressure? Who's got more to prove in these NBA Finals? KD or Steph Curry? And I've got an idea that just might save the NBA. And I'm going to tell you what. I think the commissioner is in on it. It's Will Kane filling in for Stephen A. Smith on ESPN Radio.
Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Barbasol. For the past 100 years, generations of men have trusted Barbasol shaving cream to deliver a close, comfortable shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
Need game tickets? Find your seats at Vivid Seats.